that's a great idea.
To add in, you're saying the red line?
Yeah, can you see the red line?
No.
Oh. Can you show that?
Did you?
It came as part of our.
If I emailed it to you, you probably won't see it, but if you are on Teams, you should see those changes.
Yeah, I see it.
But you're saying to add it to the minutes, is that what you're saying, Clark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to read it? Just a second.
No, it's the, my,
You said you did.
Did you add it already, Clark?
I added it in there, right?
Okay,
But
so let's just deal with that.
I can see it.
It's not, oh, here, do it.
It's called the minutes that has his name on it.
As long as you guys are okay with the change,
Well,
I'm not going to say it.
let's read it so we know it. And I've got a typo, and that you have to correct. I put 12,000 square feet, which should say 20. You okay if I read it?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Moss passed out a proposal for a change to chicken ordinance. The original wording exclude all residents in RS12 zone with less than, I should say, 20,000 square feet from having chickens. The proposed wording is to ensure that all residents in the RS12 zone have the same benefits of raising chickens as the R12, and the R10. After a short discussion, the commissioners agreed to discuss this within the September meeting.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yep.
Perfect. With that, any other comments or changes? So with that, I'm happy to take a motion to accept the changes and approve the minutes. You guys would like? Do I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes with the additions that Clark made.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
We're kind of quiet tonight.
That's right. It's because we haven't gotten to the juicy stuff yet. All right, let's see. We'll move on to our commission business. We're going to discuss all the different ordinances that we had discussed last month. First of all, the outdoor lighting noise ordinance. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at that? I think we got that in an email the other day. So I took a crack at drafting that. I tried to make it consistent with what we had discussed, making it somewhat simple, not overly complicated or specific, but enough to get the main issues down. Did anyone have any feedback, suggestions?
I have one, I thought it was really good. I do have one word that I want to talk about. Under A under is unlawful 2. And it says intentionally disturb the quiet. I wonder if that's a little too broad, because if somebody's having a party and they say, oh, we didn't mean to wake up the neighbors.
Sure.
But I don't know what word to use.
Yeah, we could, unreasonably. could be one we use.
Oh,
Maybe.
I like that.
Instead of intentionally, because you're right, I don't think, well, there are some people who intentionally try to make loud noise and be an annoying neighbor, but most people don't. No, I like the suggested change.
Everything else, the B, C, and D is all unreasonably.
Oh, yeah, okay. My copy paste job is a little lazy. All right, so let me, in fact, I think I can probably make that proposed edit here right now. 1 second. Make sure it is on. Oh, shoot. Okay, all right, that was under A.
Yeah, so that would be consistent with the other three sections.
I like that.
Do we take out the second unreasonably then? Comfort or unreasonably disturb the quiet, comfort, or repose of any person in his dwelling by making loud noises.
So it does feel like it's an unreasonable amount of unreasonablies. But
I don't know if you need the first one. Doesn't the second one say
yes,
that?
that's right. I like that. I like taking that one out.
Disturb the quiet.
Disturb the quiet by making unreasonably loud noises. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Just because, then you get into the argument, if you take out that second unreasonably, you get into the argument of what's a loud noise, what's not. And I think unreasonably still is, there's still some ambiguity there, but there's enough to say, okay, like the standard person, not the eggshell person, is going to be bothered by this or not.
The only comment or the only question I had is the specific prohibitions. The following acts are unlawful between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's only 7 hours. I could see some people saying,
Let's extend it a little
yeah, like,
But it's not basically for construction?
bit. Mostly construction stuff, but it's also like, don't go, like, I shouldn't be going out with my weed whip at 6 in the morning because mine's really loud.
I don't. I don't know.
I mean, we
My
can.
neighbors have a 5 a.m. phone, that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, we could extend like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Is that kind of thought?
yeah, that was my thought. I mean,
Oh, you're saying like more.
More.
Because I do think like 10 is probably a good cutoff time for most of this stuff, anyways.
And I would say
Because it's just like construction and louder.
Sure.
but they're,
Basically,
yeah. I mean,
now, when does trash pick up around here? Does it go any earlier?
They start at 6.
Okay, so
Not
they're
before 6.
within this. Would there ever be any reason that like any construction crews doing anything like for the city or something would be earlier?
Occasionally,
They'll have boat projects.
but that's sometimes that's.
but that's under
it can fall
exemptions.
under a different section.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
I just stopped on the power snow removal for a second. When there's snow around, I'm off with everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I like that. And most of this stuff was, I can't remember if it was from Bountiful or Centerville, but I liked the snow removal just because you got to get out and get your snow removed. That has to happen. And I violate this principle all the time. 5:45, 6 guy, waking everyone up. So any other proposals? Do you guys have any thoughts on level of specificity? Any other direction you'd like to input?
From what I read, I think it's pretty easy to understand.
Okay.
On the lighting thing, because you had told me it was more like directed towards the pickleball lights.
I think that's more the complaints you're getting recently, right?
I know, so do you want to add a time for those lights? Like, because some people just leave them on all night long. You forget and leave them on. Like on mine, my kids will play, and my lights are on, and they rather make me have to turn them off. And they're bright, and no one's right by, so I wonder if there should be a time for lights.
I personally, I definitely.
They're bright. They're bright.
The thing is, I actually like the idea of more lights being on the neighborhood, given all of the security issues we've been having. And so I think more of this, in my mind, this is more directed of, we need to try the best to keep it within the property boundaries.
Right.
But the more lights we can have on in the city at nighttime with burglaries happening, I think the better. Even if it's, I don't know, that's my personal
The
take.
one I were doing as a person farming today, I turned like every light in my house and I took the ball and just left everything. I looked like I was gonna take off my face.
Well, that's why
Because they were
I
we're like searching and they like put Farmington in lockdown and like no one's coming here.
Put the beacons on.
And there's, when we left town, our kids were old enough to be home, but they were old enough to be home with the lights on. You know, when daughter was 18, we come home, the lights would be on, they'd been on for 3 days. You know, but it made her feel good.
Sure.
They was complaining.
Have they been pickleball lights that you got from Vince, like that's the
The complaints have just been the outdoor lighting for like pickleball or for pools where they're not directed down, they're directed, they're going into the neighbor's yard or those kind of things. And I
not
think,
necessarily time.
yeah, not really the time, it's just more, hey, I don't care if they have them, but I got every line closed in my house, so I'm 200 yards away from the Holy Hearts.
Yeah.
So that's more the issue. I think it's direction of lighting. I think it's, and there's ways to do it. If you talk to the guys, there's ways to have your lights set up so they're not shining in front of your neighbor's yard, but still provide the light.
Most do that, don't they? Don't most contractors like,
Unless people are self-installing, they probably wouldn't think to do that. But I think a lot of the people who construct those sport courts have
like,
They
have
should.
that
I
idea.
would say they should, yeah.
that's just a thought. I'm kind of pretty interested.
I mean, it is a good thought. That's my own personal take. Is just I always leave not my backyard light on, but I leave all my front lights on every single night just for security purposes.
One thing that you could consider, and I've started doing this on ordinances, and I'm proposing this on the fence piece here in a minute, but putting a statement in there that says, based on unusual circumstances or whatever, that the city has the right to modify the ordinance. Or make a decision that, say, we don't have to follow exactly like this. We can say, we're going to do this because of these circumstances. There's always something. We talk, how many times do we talk about these ordinances, something come up? There's always something else that you're not thinking about. And so I've started writing these like exceptions in there and saying, the city, which is primarily Darren, has the right to look at a situation and say, I'm going to do X. Now, he probably doesn't like that. But I think he should have that kind of flexibility because you're always going to have something that says, well, this doesn't even fit into anything that it says here. I don't know, it's just a consideration.
I'm open to that because that gives, then we don't have to come in here every new complaint and revise the statute necessarily. But I think in the fence ordinance that you recently drafted, you also had something in there about seeking what is it? Not a variance, but that same sort of idea. Yeah, some sort of conditional use, something like that. That could be another way to address it, so it's doesn't feel sorely on Darren's shoulders. But I do like the nickname Darren the City, for instance. Let's go with it.
Well, I just like the idea that Darren has the flexibility to say, I don't need to talk to the attorney and the city council and every single person about this. In this particular situation, this is the way we're going to do it.
Okay, can I ask, so is that for enforcement purposes or?
Mainly.
I mean, no offense, but the the city could not be Darren in the future, and so we all think Darren is.
We don't name, that's why you say the
It's
city.
reasonable, but maybe the next person isn't.
Well, and also I think
It
that
opens things up for inequity, I think.
I like that, and on top of that, just as a protection to the staff, like, you can get people making claims that it's not equitably applied, and then, I don't think this has happened in our city, but you get people filing lawsuits in the district court all the time as an appeal of a decision at the city level, just saying, oh, this is arbitrary and capricious.
Is the conditional, I can't remember, the one pulling into the fence.
Let me read it, just to give you perspective. And we could do something like this. So this is an exception to the fence ordinance. This is an exception. The city may modify the requirements of this section, or to this section of code, if it can be demonstrated that unique circumstances prevent a fence wall or similar device from meeting the outlined parameters. The city shall consider location of driveways, adjacent sidewalks, street widths, safety of pedestrians, and overall visibility when evaluating a situation. So it doesn't need to be in there. We can say we're not going to do that, but it gives him some flexibility to say, here's a unique circumstance that this ordinance does not contemplate. I have the ability to evaluate it and say, okay, this is all right.
Or not all right.
Or not all right.
Like my life
Yeah,
is
it could be the opposite of that.
is not.
Yeah, he may say, no way, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see the merit of that. I think city may modify. I like the conditional there, if it can be demonstrated that unique circumstances prevent. So I think that would be a key part of just kind of controlling the level of discretion, is having that sort of contingency language of.
It's not because Darren hates him.
Yeah.
It's because there's something going on there that,
It's like a funky situation that doesn't need to go. Because a conditional use requires planning commission, right?
yes,
Right.
Conditional
it
use,
does.
someone has to come before us, yeah.
I vaguely remember, and I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but that terminology, what did you say? Sorry, what term did you just use? Can you read that?
exception.
An exception. There was something about that we talked about maybe in the last year or two,
Variance,
potentially.
yeah.
And it was like, well, that's never going to happen, so we don't have to worry. I guess my only concern would be, I guess going back to kind of the discussion earlier is, if somebody comes and says, hey, so-and-so got approval to do it, but I just don't know that it, not that I trust Darren's ability to make those decisions, but I could see potential individuals within the city just not appreciating
And it may not be him. You could say they got to come in.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that would be better to say in these circumstances, you may have to come to the planning commission
Yeah.
to get that use.
I mean, that would be fine.
Conditional.
And that way, it's
It's a body.
It's a body. Yeah.
not just one person.
I think that probably would be my preference, just because then, I actually think that's a protection to the staff too, because I think those are heavy decisions that just for you guys to deal with, and then you guys have to get out the flack. Let them yell at their neighbors instead of yelling at the staff like they always do.
And I think it's a public forum, right, that's there, and then there's multiple
And
inputs.
you guys would still be giving us your proposal.
Yes.
I think that might be the best way to go about it.
I think
I mean,
one good thing about that is recorded.
True.
So here's the recording, so if there was ever
I think
issues.
there's a level of protections both way that way. And
I think it's-
on top of that, I think because there's a record, we can go back to earlier decisions when we get similar things saying, oh, this is actually similar to 3 years ago when we go.
I think it gives the public the ability that they can go back, right? If we don't, but
Yeah.
they could say, oh, well, I went through and I saw 2 years ago this
Yeah.
happened.
I'm thinking of the situation where the guy says he can't pull out of his driveway because he can't see. Yes, he can see just fine, he just doesn't like the neighbor. And so I'm just saying, here's a situation where you can say, you know what, we've taken a look at this, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But the planning commission doing that as a body probably makes more sense. We'll see if you get overrun by things, but, yeah.
Okay. And with that, what we can do in and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but in the fencing ordinance, we can probably just get rid of the language you had proposed, because essentially the exception language already provided that if there's a desire for an exception, it needs to be approved by city, well, I added in that language, the city planning commission being, approving that as a conditional use. But yeah, I'm comfortable with the idea of adding similar language to the lighting ordinance of the idea that any exception needs to be approved as a conditional use by the planning commission or city planning commission, however it's defined in the code.
But is there enough definition in the lighting ordinance to even, I mean, it just says unreasonable.
That's
So
true,
that's
it is
really
pretty
being like,
loose.
how do you come and
That's
say
true.
your lighting's reasonable? I don't know.
No, I
It
think you
seems
make
like
a
there's
good
not
point.
like strong enough language to say,
Yeah.
well, I think it's reasonable. I feel like the lighting ordinance falls on the city a little bit. Because it's so vague, we can't like
Sure.
approve or, I don't know, what do you think? Because they're not like specific, it has to be X amount, light can't extend X amount, like it, that's not.
It's much more subjective.
Yes,
we
so
don't
how
go
would
to
you
the-
say we approve your light there, and someone like, it's fine, it's the only place it can go.
You know, I don't know what we want to get into.
Or do you just keep it real,
We could go down to you can only have so many lumens in your neighbor's house, and boy, that gets hard.
Can't measure it.
Darren's gonna be going out or a little light meter.
Wait, is there gonna be, I think it's a good idea to put a time limit on it, even I think light trespass is just as bad.
well, just like pickleball lights, like exterior home lights, no,
Not
just
certain, but,
pickleball or court lights.
yeah, sports,
Court, swim,
like 10 to 7.
recreational lights.
Same,
same
same.
I don't know, 10 might be really.
That's the dawn.
Yeah,
And
I have,
also, it's
yeah.
probably for people who are abusing it, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
The idea of reasonable people who turn their lights off after they're done, you know, I don't think anybody's gonna be bothered by that. It's when it's
Sure.
left on all night every single day,
Yeah.
and they're using.
Which happens.
When we looked at lights the other last meeting, there were some cities I did see that require sport court lighting to be on a timer switch rather than on off. And I think it was Clinton that requires it to be on a motion sensor. So I did see both with other cities, so.
But I don't think it's unreasonable to put a time on it, and that's, I mean, I have teenagers, but I sometimes have.
We have to be specific on how we word it, because,
Yeah,
I mean, even just backyard outdoor lighting would be too broad in my opinion, because just having like a back porch type light.
that's what I'm saying, what do you call it, recreational lighting?
I don't know, because like I have a floodlight that I can turn on my deck, and I think that is similar to the concern that people have.
Yeah,
So that's what my challenge would be trying to figure out what would be the correct
I don't know.
terminology.
And we can leave it, I don't know.
Do you get complaints about security lighting, or is it
I
specifically
haven't,
about
but
sports?
I would say it's mostly the pools and sports courts.
Pools and sports.
And it's not ones that are, it's ones that are flooding into the neighbor's yards.
It's like
Those
direction
are-
out.
And it's like they need to change the
Yeah.
direction of the lights.
But if
I
they're
think-
existing, what do you do?
You can
You
put
adjust
little,
the
like,
There's screens.
You can put shields on them.
There's streetlights that I'll get a call that, hey, it's shining in our bedroom, hey, what can you do about it? We'll have to put a screen on it,
Yeah.
so it doesn't shine that way, so
Yeah.
like it's just going to force it light down more. So there are things you can do.
No, but I'm saying if it's an existing home and it's a new ordinance. aren't
You can make it retroactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Well, then that's probably what you want to do, is create ordinance for people who are have lights and they're bugging the neighbor, then.
Yeah.
They gotta make it so it complies with the. I mean, that's not something unreasonable.
So I'm open to the idea of a time bar, if we can make it narrow to the specific issue, because, you know, we wanna make sure it's not overly broad to eliminate all outdoor lighting.
You said a minute ago though, and I think it's important, the concern that's been brought up is not necessarily the time, but it's that it's flooding into neighbors' yards, right? If it's not going into your yard, I don't care if they got lights on at 11 o'clock at night or midnight, right? But if it's affecting,
I think it's more the direction of the lights.
Isn't
I
there
think
a
that
state
I
light
read one,
pollution ordinance?
what's that?
Isn't there a state light pollution ordinance? I think there is. My house above me, the gray house, I'm not gonna need these lights on, or I mean, it was like a spaceship.
Yeah,
So I Googled, luckily they tore the house down, but there is like a state light pollution ordinance, you can't leave like unreasonable amounts of lights on.
I know the state pushes a lot for dark sky lighting now, so
Yeah.
it's not
But
projecting
I'm
out.
saying if that was an issue, I think there's, I know there is, because I researched it.
Yeah.
That was like, this guy is, I could turn his lights off at some point.
Yeah,
No
he
law
never did for
a lot of
6 years.
cities have
Never. Like 4 inches, just like 4 stories of wild.
I mean, I think I read an ordinance, I'm sorry, I can't remember what city it was, that did talk about, light pollution,
Yeah,
keeping that pollution in your home yards.
yeah.
And making sure as you have lights on your doors and stuff, that they're pointed in a direction where they're not flooding into the neighbor's yard. And that was the ordinance that. Enforcing it, I don't know how easy
How
that
do you
is.
enforce that, other than
That-
say, at 11 o'clock, you just have to shut them off, right?
Yeah,
And then-
at a point, I guess,
Unless you
you
have a
know,
light meter out there and you're.
if there's a complaint, the city at that point has something to say, hey, you need to fix your lights because they are doing this, here's your notice of violation. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that might be enough if someone was.
But some people, I think that is enough, they get that, and I'm like, oh,
Right, if they were
I need to
keeping
fix
it-
that, I didn't even know I was doing that.
Yeah, like I didn't realize that we were keeping them on all night, because I mean, I'll make sure they turn off, I would think 95,
But
90%
you
people.
definitely have to have something that you can reference, go back to, and say, here's our ordinance, and then say that.
And I mean, if I remember correctly, you said sometimes when we put these ordinances in place, it helps when someone calls the police, they have something to point to.
Yes,
Instead of just
100%.
saying, your neighbors are upset, saying, no, you're in violation of code, section, whatever. Okay. So then what are the thoughts? Do we want to propose like a time bar? Do we want to see if this works and then maybe revisit, or what do we want to
I
do?
think you could leave it and see if that, I don't know. But I guess I always like the least amount of
Sure.
restrictions, and like, I would think laws aren't kind of place that people use them, and they have to make something, so just see
Right.
if
See,
this
you
is
know,
enough and not enough for more chicken in it.
Like, I was,
I don't know.
it's not.
to test it out.
I agree.
I mean, hey, the pool ordinance, we've revisited that several times in the past couple of years.
Oh.
We're always open to see our own
But maybe
stuff.
there's something to reference to, see, we have an ordinance that said you have to, you know, be cautious, or like, whatever, that might be enough, but it's not that we can do like action.
Is it hard to install timers?
No,
It isn't?
if you can install, it's just a normal switch.
Okay.
Maybe just say you need to put a timer on it so that eventually it just turns off.
Yeah.
So if you're late, that's
I mean, you could have a
fine.
4-hour timer, they have a 4-hour timer switch with, you know.
Right.
It's surely always teenagers helping, you know.
100%.
We speak as if we've had some experience.
But then, sorry, also with the sound ordinance, is 11 PM, we're gonna change that to 10 PM?
I just jotted in there that in the live file, I put 10 PM on that one.
Yeah, and Haley did. She
I
must
agree
have
with
done
it,
it.
so obstruction and loud verbal, 10 is sufficient.
Yeah, I agree. That's
I
what
mean,
it is.
even during the summer, like no
I
construction.
think construction is after 10.
They're gonna wrap up around 9, I think usually that's when you see them start to be done with their work, unless they're
If
working on
someone's
the
doing
roads.
their own labor, like,
Sure,
at least it helps in neighborhoods like, it's in a couple of my kids are trying to go to bed in there.
jackhammer in their
Or whatever they're doing.
driveway.
Something.
Yeah, on that, kids go out and play night games. And then sometimes they're a little noisy, but I don't think anybody really cares if they shut down the Wi-Fi. But I would really not like some Netflix are going off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
So can we make a proposal to accept the light noise ordinance with the exception of changing?
so I think we have to present this to the open.
We have to do this on a public hearing.
Oh,
So
JK.
this
So,
is
we just wanna have things
Can
really
I make a proposal? There's just not a thing. I don't know what we have to.
Do we need, we don't need to vote on this yet, it's just
No,
kind
no,
of
no.
finalizing some notes.
So if we're close on how it wants to, how we want it, and we're ready, then.
Okay.
And maybe a public hearing, but people come and have issues with the light, or a certain thing.
I'll be curious if if this draws a big crowd, I'll be very curious about this one, it seems pretty vanilla, but at the same time,
So-
I was shocked by Jacob, I was
So,
shocked.
Jacob,
That brought them out, for sure. So unless anyone has with the changes there, I'm pretty comfortable with this language and to send that out to the citizens and then see what feedback we get there.
So we'll clean this up, and then send it once again out. And if there's any changes or anything like that, just put them there. And then we'll prepare for a public hearing.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to 5.2, the fences, walls, hedges, and we'll turn the time over to Jeff, because he did all the heavy lifting here.
Walk up here. So I tried just to clarify this a little better than what we had. So again, this is dealing with residential areas and fences, walls, similar devices. So I broke it down by front yard and then side and rear yards and corner lots. So in the front yard, it would say, in front yards fencing shall not exceed 4 feet. And then, I'd like to modify that language, I put in parentheses from the front building line. I'd like to use from the front plane of the primary building structure to the right of way. So it defines actually what the front yard is. Now you can say, okay, from the front of my house to my property line, that's the front yard. You can have a 4-foot fence. The fence must be set back at least 9 feet from the back of curb. That's the piece that Darren wanted to have in there. And then we thought it probably still makes sense to have where no curb and gutter exists, a fence must be set back at least 9 feet from the edge of the street right of way as determined by the city. We have very few situations where that is the case now, but we do have a few. We're not far away from having everything with curb and gutter, but we still have a few streets where there's no improvements. So that would limit a fence in your front yard 4 feet. That's all you can have. It's pretty much standard from city to city. That's pretty much a standard. Then in the side and rear yards, fencing in interior side and rear yards shall not exceed 6 feet, excluding any corner side yard area. So that's pretty clear. Backyard, side yards, behind that front plane of the building is a 6-foot fence. And then on corner lots, in the corner side yard, street fronting area, so this is on the corner that faces the street, a fence or wall located within the side setback is permitted provided the fence or wall does not exceed a maximum of 6 feet and shall be located outside the minimum clear view area defined in 10.11.9, which I included on the back of this page. and is located behind the front plane of the primary building structure, so it just matches that language. And then again, a fence must be set back at least 9 feet from the back of curb. So it basically says you have a 4-foot fence in your front yard, you have a 6-foot fence in your side and back yards. And
Like
then,
the ones on the street over here, I mean, obviously they're right on there, it's older homes, but the fence is just right on the side of the sidewalk on the corner. So it's the front is, but you're not saying the side on the street still has to be a 9-foot fence, if it was a new fence.
well, this says that it would have to be set back 9 feet
From the
No.
road.
from the,
Because even these
Back of the
ones,
curb.
Back
from the
on
back of the curb.
even these ones right here, right, and this heights, wooding,
So you have, those ones there have the 4-foot park strip, sidewalk, and then the fence. So they're really close to
the 9
feet.
Probably 8, like they might. not
Probably 8.5, 9 feet right there, just depending.
I suspect there's somewhere in the city where there's no curb and gutter, and somebody's got their side yard fence
Yes.
right by the street.
Yeah.
I
I was just making sure.
Those are probably not great situations, I don't know what the issue is. And that's primarily why I put this piece in here about exceptions, and we can, I don't care if we leave that or not, but, I mean, just last time when we were talking about it, we come up with just like 4 or 5 different exceptions. And every time you meet, you'll come up with 5 new ones. And we'll be meeting because of something that came up that we don't know what to do.
I think this one you can have, at least to me, it makes sense.
And I'd be fine saying that with the
Specific
planning
things,
commission.
right, it's pretty like,
If we can't figure it out staff-wise, we'll bring it in here and say, okay, this is what we got. What do you want to do?
but do you want to do a conditional use for your tenant doesn't need it? I don't know.
How often do you think this will come up? That I guess that would be
Not very often.
because once this is in the ordinance, if it's a new development,
That's-
I mean the general should have awareness of something like this.
Are we expecting this to be retroactive?
I think that'd be a hard sell. The fences are expensive to try to fix that up.
I would not tend to make people tear down their fence unless it was determined there was some overriding safety
It's like
issue.
causing accidents and things.
Yes, because that'd be expensive, but I think the ordinance should be retroactive, but I don't think we should take on a policy of tearing down anyone's fence unless it can be just shown that it's just a nightmare. And I'm not aware of any now, but, it would be really hard in an ordinance like this to try and remember the date that you passed it, and every fence built before that doesn't have to comply with any of these regulations. I mean, you're trying to solve some problems. So make it retroactive, but do not carry a policy of, we're gonna make everybody tear down their fence.
Yeah,
Just
we're not gonna
leave
go,
well enough alone, unless we are having accidents or those
Like
kinds of
if someone
things.
came was like, my kid can't see around the corner, and nobody can see around, you would address the situation. Is that?
It's usually on a corner lot that you have a problem.
Where it's too
Interior
high,
lots
you
are
can
never
say,
gonna have an issue.
Isn't
But
there-
again, I don't think this is gonna, I think these are gonna be far and few between. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of it.
Sure.
And I think the reason we're talking about this right now is because 2 neighbors don't get along. Has nothing to do with the fence.
It has everything to do with the pool.
What about a restriction?
So, hey Jeff, I wanna ask about why the clear vision part in there?
Well, so what it says is that, and that's primarily gonna come into play on a corner lot, that you can't have, let me just read it. In all zones which require front yard, no obstruction to be greater than 2 feet in height above the level of the curb or roadside where no street curb exists shall be permitted on any corner lot within the triangular area formed by the street property lines and a line connecting them between points 40 feet from the intersection. So basically, you got two property lines converging. At the point they converge and touch each other, you go back 40 feet, and then you make the triangle, you draw the triangle. In that area on the corner, you can't have anything obstructing view above 2 feet. So you're saying no 4-foot fence, no 6-foot fence. That's just a safety thing.
For the intersection though, not between a front yard of somebody and a backyard of somebody.
No. This would just be, so it's referring to that piece of ordinance saying that on a corner, on a street corner, that's the only place it applies.
It applies from the, so right now, we take the intersection. We'll go to the center of the intersection, measure 40 feet, measure 40 feet, make that triangle, nothing's within that triangle. That's our clear vision. Now, that is not applying to, hey, my driveway's
No,
10 feet from my neighbor's backyard. And
this does not apply to driveways.
I want to make sure that's clear.
I mean, that was my
We
second
talked about whether or not we should go down that road and say there should be a clear vision triangle on each driveway. We didn't determine whether that's a road we wanted to go down. That's another road you can go down. This is not what this says. This applies only to street corners. Only to street corners.
Yeah,
But I think like in Salt Lake, it's just 30 feet. You have to have a 30-foot offset from a driveway. And so maybe it's what you said here, but something about, or 30 feet from driveways, whichever is more restricted, something to that effect.
Yeah, we talked about how, you're backing out of your driveway. I think it was you that said that you've got a fence, you can't see very good coming.
I got it, yeah.
That is an issue. I mean, are you out into the street and over the sidewalk before you can see up and down the sidewalk?
We don't have a
It
sidewalk.
doesn't have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Those can be issues, but it sounds like that we used to have that and we moved away from it. I don't remember why, but that's another piece to this ordinance that we could draft, but this does not address that right now.
I think it goes back to, right, the reason we're having this discussion is because two neighbors are arguing, right? It's not because of vision, it's not because of safety concerns. So my 2 cents would be, if this appeases and allows us to move on, I would move on, but I don't think this is the real issue that we're talking about. It's my 2 cents. So.
Has it come up otherwise, other than the few neighbors?
Has it come up?
Yeah.
I'd say it comes up occasionally. Again, it's not a frequent thing because I think most people are pretty responsible with their driving and they're careful and they understand there's kids and those kinds of things. But it's come up occasionally. I don't remember the last time it came up, but I don't even remember why we did away with it. We made it get away with it because it was so confusing and hard to.
Well, if you're gonna do a driveway, people plant whatever they want along the driveway. They plant hedges, they put hedges up along the sidewalk, and then you're coming back in and saying, hey, you can't see out of your own driveway, cut that stuff down. Because the ordinance says, that's private property, that's a challenge to have somebody remove things off private
Why
property.
can't we stay away from people's driveways? Like, most people want to be able to see off of their driveway, so no one wants to hit anything, right? So but I think obviously the ordinance does. Are important to make sure.
And if it became an issue, it's something that could be addressed later.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I've got a spot where I got a mailbox that's in my way when I'm backing out of my driveway.
Or sorry, city council.
Yeah.
I always just take some extra time to make sure nothing's
That's
coming.
Yeah.
It is my mailbox.
Anything wrong?
It's my mailbox. I don't want to move that, that was expensive.
Can we ask Mark what he thinks about it? I feel like this is kind of important, this is a big deal, in my opinion.
You
I
say
think
it is a big
safety-
deal.
I think it's a big safety issue.
For the driveway?
Yeah. Not just driveway, well, driveway, yes, but also people, what if they put in a new curb cut to access their backyard, or there's always some weird condition that,
Well, they can't.
you know,
Work right out to access the backyard, can they?
why not?
If you're gonna widen your driveway or make another one, yeah, you can come get a permit to cut the curb.
But you would go look at that and make sure it wasn't.
But if there's no restriction,
But, yeah, I would say if there's not a restriction, they're not violating anything in ordinance, yeah, the majority of the time would say, yeah, you're able to do that.
I don't know with shelter ones, I'm a little worried. Because, you know, my driveway, I'm really used to it. I don't want to curb and I always look for kids because they zip around and little things. But people who aren't familiar with my driveway, I don't have a hedge, but if I had a hedge, I'd be very careful around it, but people not come visit me who wouldn't be familiar with that. That's where I think we have a bigger risk.
But is the risk the city's risk or the homeowners? If you put an ordinance in saying, hey, in your yard, you have to cut it down to this, this, and this, and it's not enforced, and then there's an accident, who's liable?
I don't know how to answer that.
I don't know
I just
either.
think you're trying to stay off people's private
Does that make the
I
city
agree.
right?
property
Well,
line.
it's a new development, and
I-
you're enforcing it, and you've approved the building permit and
There's all kinds
everything,
of
right?
ordinances that are
Yeah.
But there's not,
right to the T.
it's tricky, yeah, I don't know.
I'll tell you what I would
City
do.
has qualified immunity, that's always the answer.
Is, I'd be willing to draft something up that we can
Yeah.
just take a look at.
Yeah,
And see what you think, but it's similar to this clear vision thing, it's on a much smaller scale, so instead of like a 40-foot triangle, you might have like a 15-foot triangle. But we're gonna have the problem that Aaron suggested, and that is, now is this another big, huge enforcement thing for the city that we gotta go make sure that right on your front lawn, you're not doing these things? I mean, it's an enforcement thing.
And you add on to that RV pads, right? If you got a big old RV on your RV pad, is that
Yeah,
blocking view?
and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So,
And probably every one of them have a fence right adjacent to them.
I think it's muddy water, we don't want to enter, but that would just be my.
I mean, I'd be curious, do we have, I'm just trying to think, I'm like walking my streets in my neighborhood just to think if I have some good examples of some of those hazards. I guess there's someone who has some hedges.
Is Marble Electric suspicion?
but and this is only for corner lots, I think just on those corners, you know, if you have a
What would
driveway,
be your
new
opinion?
construction.
You can,
Well, I was told I need to try to be quiet, so I don't sway
I'm asking you,
anybody.
Joel, we're
So I don't
asking.
sway anybody
Ask.
on thinking or how the city council could. But in the situation we're talking about, that's a whole big deal. But I think when it comes to driveways, it should be the residents' responsibility to take care, and they're backing in and out of the driveway. They can't see or handle it. But I think it's very tough if we expect the city to go and start enforcing because somebody's bush or hedge is 6 inches higher than it should.
And then ultimately, going back to the liability, city's got qualified immunity, but that's gonna go on a home insurance policy, so it's gonna be on their plate, so they need to take the personal responsibility. I mean, but I definitely get the idea that there are a lot of these situations, I mean, I can think of like maybe 1 or 2 homes where someone kind of has set up a situation where if they're not paying very close attention, they could easily harm somebody.
Well, and for me, I don't think it's as much vegetation, it's just more people putting fences up.
Right.
If they're solid, there's no visibility.
Like a
Yeah.
trailer.
You know,
Fence,
it's more
fence
fences,
deal.
yeah, I think it's more fences.
But I think we do have the 4 foot, right? We have a 4 foot.
But it has to be kind of set back, you know, from the.
9, exactly, yeah, 9 feet, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if it's in front of your house, it won't be 50 feet. So, right?
You could have a full-time guy just go around and make sure you're driving.
Jared's not letting them do it. Well, people try with.
And bushes.
Your rates is high, Terry.
We'll
Yeah,
send you
yeah,
that.
for money,
Or
for
thinking
life.
about people putting in new fences.
Yeah,
Fence, I think it's.
yeah.
People shut it down.
Oh my goodness.
Have you ever had someone call and say, my neighbor said just do right in the driveway?
Put it this way, we don't have.
I've had people call and say they
complaining
can't see
about-
out of their own driveway because of stuff they have, and I'm like, well, it's your own stuff.
No one's
We have
complaining
bigger
about it.
issues here, if you're calling me.
If it was a problem everywhere, you'd have some complaints, we haven't had any complaints about this. But it could be a safety issue, but I agree with you, ultimately, it's the property owner's responsibility to safely operate your vehicle. I mean, there's accidents all the time that happen, they're tragic. But ultimately, it's the driver's responsibility to be super aware of what's going on.
Yep.
I don't know, I'll go either direction, it don't matter to me. And let me just say this, as I do research on these things and look at what other cities do, I'd say it's 50-50. Half of the cities have something in there about driveways, the other half don't. So why would they not have them? Probably for what he said, they can't enforce it. So, I don't know.
So right now, the fence is gonna have to be back, how far from the front?
9 feet from the back of
If
curb.
it's in front of the house, if it's in the front yard, it's gonna be.
Setback 9 feet.
But it still has the same setback in front yard. If
Yeah,
you're coming up with a fence, just the front yard can only be
4 feet
4
tall,
feet,
9 feet out.
but that still has to be 9 feet
Yeah.
back. The end of that fence still, by this ordinance from Rummery, has to be that 9 feet back.
Yeah,
Now-
that 9 feet is nothing. So think about that, just in and of itself. You're backing out of your driveway, there's 9 feet of clear vision. According to this ordinance, you've got 9 feet.
You normally, if you're sitting in a car.
In most cars, that's gonna get you most of the way into before you get onto the street where you can see. But there'll be, I think it becomes more of an issue on smaller lots, because they tend to be a narrower lot, fences are much closer to driveways, they don't have much of a side yard, those are the ones that we gotta be careful of. And we have a lot more smaller lots now. I mean, I don't know, I've driven around the city to see how much of a situation we've got. It's not an issue that we were asked to address, but it's out there if you wanna do it.
I'm okay with this as is. I made a couple of recommended changes on the SharePoint file. But other than that, I felt pretty comfortable with what's here.
Was that anything we wanna discuss?
Here, let me pull it up. So the only things. Actually, I'm gonna reject that one. I'm not feeling that anymore. Okay, so just some of it was wording, so instead of street fronting, I said, the side yard area which fronts onto a street. That was just a personal preference, and it's okay if you reject it. I've never been offended by someone rejecting my language, which happens every single day. And,
Well, that's in your email.
it's on the live SharePoint document, I put on,
Track change.
track changes. Then the other one, I just made a note on in the exceptions that the exceptions must be approved by city planning commission. And then I asked, is this a defined term? And then I put the note that we had discussed, maybe we remove that last part about the city being modified, because I think if we're gonna do the city planning commission approving exceptions, then we probably don't need the additional language about the city. modifying.
Now, where does what were you saying the city modify?
It's sub B, so 10, 11, 10, subsection B is where that language is contained.
Where does it say modify? Oh, right there. Oh, you're saying don't put that in there.
Yeah, I'm saying if we're gonna just have it be they come to the city council, and just cause like we
Like
talked
a
about before,
conditional use.
if they come here, then we can probably get rid of that whole second sentence in its entirety. Because then they're just coming here, you guys give your recommendation, we review it, we say yea or nay, and move on. Because like you said, I don't think this is gonna come up much. And if it won't come up much, then it's not too much skin off our nose for them to come before us once a month or whenever it comes up.
Agree.
So those were my few changes. And then just, like I said, a little bit of wording things here and there.
Anything else?
That was it for me.
Sorry, did you see where there's two recipes back to back?
Oh yeah, I also struck that as well.
I can go back and review the stuff that I didn't.
Let me know if it's showing up for you.
Yours isn't.
It's
I
not?
think you're just, you have
Where's
to,
it not going to?
the only person I see is Mark.
You know,
If you go into the Teams and do it from there, it should pop it all up.
Oh, well, I'm on SharePoint right now. SharePoint does it live. Let me see if I can separately share it back to you. Here, so I just did a share with you, so maybe somehow it got, you know what it is? You know what I think it is? I was having my issue with my email, and you emailed it to me as a copy, so I think I am in my own siloed SharePoint. So I've just shared it to you. I think that's probably what happened here. My
You can
apologies.
share that with me.
Yeah, I can do that right now.
But if you want to take out that, we have that wording that says, they must file a conditional use permit, or.
Well, I don't even know if it needs to be a conditional use, we can just say, we could just say, listen, if there's a situation that, the ordinance, we don't feel like the ordinance addresses, we're gonna take it before the planning commission. And I think just saying that in the ordinance gives us the right to do that. Otherwise, you're locked into whatever the ordinance says. Now, the city has final interpretation of what their ordinance says it means, but having that one sentence in there saying, if we run into a unique circumstance, we're gonna take it to the planning commission. That, in the attorney's mind, says, yeah, if that's what the ordinance says, do it. Instead of saying, we gotta rewrite the whole ordinance for this one thing. Because fences are something, I mean, there's all kinds of weird things that go on out there. Something will happen that we did not think about tonight. Probably already happened. We just don't know about it yet.
It's happening while we speak. Up
Yes.
until 10 p.m.
And yes, that's what I was gonna say. Right up until 10 p.m. and that's it.
I like that, just adding that, you guys like changing that sentence to say that, we thought before.
Well, I don't know that that's necessary, because right now what the exception language says, exceptions to the provisions of this section, including any fence or retaining wall exceeding 6 feet in height, must be approved by the planning commission as a conditional use. So we already have the language there. So I think we're covered on giving that leeway that if they need to present a unique circumstance, we can approach it.
You also have in your location of driveways, adjacent sidewalks, street width, safety of pedestrian, overall visibility when evaluating. You kind of are talking about driveway at the end there, is that what you're, under exceptions?
Oh yeah, I see what you're
You
saying.
have actually that, the idea of driveway, maybe needing further review.
Yeah.
You, instead of putting a restrictive, tone on with it, within where we were talking before about the driveways being 30 feet from, whatever it is, from the intersection. Down here on B, under exceptions, you do have, the city shall consider location of driveways, adjacent sidewalks, street width, safety of pedestrians, and overall visibility.
That's why I put that in there, so that you could,
So
if a unique circumstances made itself available, you could say, well, we're taking into consideration the situation.
Yeah.
That's primarily why I put that language in there, is that it might wrap around and include some of those things.
On the
I do like
very
that.
last one, it says supplementary regulations, is that,
Yeah, I like that.
in my mind, that's already what the ordinance was, versus 50%.
Yeah, that supplementary, I just put that in so that you can see what the language was, we're not proposing any changes.
No, it's not what it is.
But I think
It's currently 25.
Yeah, we're talking about that next. That's the next item.
Oh, why is it, it's all in my one thing.
Yeah, I threw it all on the same page, but that's our next discussion. Yeah, we're gonna get to that right now, in just a minute. But let's go back to your, Shelley, your comment. Kevin's suggesting that we just leave it the way that it was written.
Oh, just leave that.
I'm sold on Shelley's, because that gives parameters, because we're all gonna remember it if it ever faces us, but in 15 years, having that last part, so I mixed the part about the city being modified, but then I brought back in that last clause of.
So the last sentence, leave that.
Yeah, and essentially add as a new sentence, it says, the city planning commission shall consider all these things, because I think then it gives us a good box to work within, saying, what is the reason we should say yea or nay? It's gonna be, how does this impact, location of driveway, sidewalks, street widths, etc.
So Kevin, you're saying,
So strike from the city being modified to outline parameters. I would strike that, and then.
but leave the second sentence
Yeah,
in.
but then just
City
say
shall
it pertains to the planning commission shall consider
Okay,
these things.
alright. Does that make sense?
That's fine.
Okay, we'll draft it like that, and you'll be able to review it again.
Because then that does bring in all the concerns that we've talked about driveways, like, does this make sense in this particular circumstance, given these important characteristics?
Again, I'm thinking of the guy that says, I'm pulling out my driveway, I can't see anything. Well, that allows us to take a look at the particular situation and say, and you guys make a determination. Well, can he see or not? He's got 10 feet. So it gives you kind of some leeway to say, yeah, is this legit or is he just complaining to complain?
Right. Okay. And any other comments, feedback on the first part of this document? Thanks for all your work on that. That's good stuff. So then the next part was the 10, 11,
Maximum
16.
coverage of the rear yard.
Can you, as you talk, can you explain just why there isn't just a general max, like building coverage for lots instead of, why is it separated out into the rear coverage?
Well,
Like 40%.
yeah, let me explain that, and I did two things here. One, the way it's written right now is it says required minimum rear yard. When you say required minimum rear yard, that's the 25 feet from the back of the property line in 25 feet. It's not the whole rear yard, it's that 25-foot area, so you could only fill up that 25-foot area with 25% of something. It doesn't say anything about the rest of the yard. So I struck that language and said, let's make it 50% of the whole backyard. So in your whole backyard, don't fill up more than 50% of your backyard with buildings and swimming pools and hardscaping and things like that.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that's what it said. Yeah, required minimum yard.
So the way it's currently written is you could fill up your entire lot with concrete, except in the 25 feet in the very back, you could only fill up not more than 25% of that. Well, that's probably not what we ever wanted to do. I don't think that was probably ever the intention. So I'm saying scrap all that, and let's just say 50% of your backyard, don't fill it more than 50% of your backyard. Now, maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too aggressive. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question on that. Where does the backyard start?
Rear of the structure.
Is it the rear of the structure or is it?
The rear of the structure back to the property line. So the back plane of the structure to the property
Like
line.
extending all the way out each side. Right? That would be considered good.
So if somebody has a deck out back?
That's not a,
Is it what
Deck's
defines?
considered to be part of your house.
yeah.
Well,
It's
a deck
attached to the
can actually, a covered deck or something can extend into the setback.
10 feet. The deck's considered part of the house and not an accessory structure. An accessory structure is anything that's detached. So it's a garage, it's a shed. A swimming pool is actually considered a detached structure, an accessory structure.
So it's just-
Basketball court, pickleball court, anything that's
Is that hard?
concrete or asphalt.
Non-permeable, is
Yep.
that?
And maybe we should say that. Maybe we should define it as a non-permeable surface.
When I was building, I had a lovely neighbor who
In the,
looked over everything, and I had to show my percentages of non-hardscape, right? Like the hillside, all that, like I had.
but I think that falls under the sensitive lands.
Yeah.
So you're on
That's
the,
where I could be.
yeah,
told.
you're up on the slope with sensitive lands.
A certain
There are
percentage.
different rules for that from where somebody that's not, and that's just
kind of
required by
why I
the
thought it was
geotech.
something because I
Yeah,
had to do that, so. Okay.
so it is the sensitive lands on
So it's
that.
always been that, but now it hasn't been great.
Really, the question is, should we be telling people what they can and can't do in their backyard?
I guess the hard
If
thing for me
you
is
fill up your entire backyard with concrete, should we have anything to say about that?
when the state doesn't want landscaping on all of it, and
Yes.
someone wants to zero-scape it and pickleball court and pool, and then.
Well, I think it's more than non-permeable because
That's
I
amazing.
look at Houston as the example. Houston is flooding more in part because of the way it's developed. There's more concrete. There's nothing to catch a lot of the water. That's where I grew up. My high school is under 8 feet of water in Harvey. And there are a lot of other reasons too, but there's not a lot of, that would be my concern is if everyone is just putting hardscape throughout the neighborhoods and you have
You're gonna
different
have
slope
problems.
issues, you're gonna have water running at high rates towards places that should be going.
And when you have a international building code law that says you have to retain water on your own property, you're having a hard time retaining water on your property if the whole thing's landed out in hardscape. There's nowhere for water to soak into the ground.
So I like that this gives some more freedom, and then I think that's important, but if we just go loosey-goosey and people are just, and is anyone really gonna fully landscape or hardscape their backyard? I don't know, people have done crazy things, but like, that would be my concern, it's just the water retention aspect and where the water's headed.
So
It
I
feels
think,
like there should be some
I like
permeable
the
area.
permeable, I like that language,
But
instead
it
of
could
not.
it could be accessory buildings too, it's not just hardscape or pools, it's
Yeah.
built
Yeah.
environment, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to maintain kind of how the density of this area looks, right, then you sort of have to make sure that we don't densify by building your whole backyard.
I think it's almost
We say
too,
50% of the rear yard space must be
Exterior
permeable.
accessory
So
wall.
a pool is also considered permeable, right?
No,
Or non-permeable?
no.
not permeable.
No.
It doesn't, the pool water doesn't soak into the ground, or you got a big problem.
I think it's almost two issues we're looking at here. I think one is like,
Back and forth, I really do, on the pool.
You say it is a permeable surface?
The water can go into it and be staying in it and then evaporate out.
I was told it was, like that didn't count towards my percentages I had here, that the pool wasn't considered part of it.
Now, you can turn around and say, oh, concrete around it, yes.
Yeah.
But the pool
Concrete
itself
pool.
can take
In my
water,
mind, permeable means it soaks into the ground.
right?
But the pool can take all the water.
no, whether that's full.
not postponed, I know, there's not really.
It's only permeable if it's empty. Or there's enough space in there to take on some water.
So I'm saying, I've seen the pool both ways.
And I can see it both ways. In our climate, I mean, you probably got 4 inches on every pool before you're if we have a 4-inch storm, here we go.
The water is leaking off the pool cover
And-
everywhere. There are big
Remember
issues.
again, this is still part of this discussion about 2 neighbors that don't get it. Okay, so
I want them, I want
keep
them
all
to
that
have
and
jobs.
expecting at the same time. That's the problem we're dealing with. When I look at it, it does not make sense the way it was written. It was probably poorly written originally. We should do something different than what we've got. The question is, where would you like to go?
Shelley was starting onto something.
Well, I just wonder, so maybe I missed it, is there another area that talks about the maximum lot coverage in general?
Like
So,
side yard frontage.
so like meaning even the building footprint, you know, so you have, can you just say, lump it all together and just say you can only build 40% of your lot, period?
No,
No, this is it.
Which,
I think there's,
Which is what I'm used to.
I just think you can't sit, I don't think it.
I'm not sure we've ever enforced this on
probably, I mean,
anyone.
and again, I'm thinking maybe like new build, I worked on a lot of new build, so it's like you couldn't build more or addition, you can't build more than 40% of your lot, just period. Front, course, rear, you know, according to setbacks and things like that.
This is where you would say that.
Yeah, so I don't
It's
understand. why
not
you would do that.
anywhere else, if that's your
Yeah.
question. That's not discussed anywhere else, this is it. So if we wanna say that,
I think that's why you have side yard and front yard, and every setbacks, it has to fit within that. So if you, I mean, I wanna maximize whatever lot if I have a good lot, I wanna build whatever I can build that fits within the ordinances, and I have every right to do that. But that's just my perspective of land ownership. So that's why I think there's already setbacks and front yard, all that exists within there, but I think the idea of having permeable land, so someone's not just hardscaping every square inch of the backyard and then it runs into the neighbors is, I have zero issue with that. But I don't like the idea of saying you can only touch a certain part of your land.
it's feasible in this day and age to have underground storage underneath concrete. It happens in parking lots all the time these days. You typically wouldn't see that situation in a residential area, but maybe that's the thought, is
Yeah,
that,
right there.
okay, you can only have, you gotta have 50% impermeable surface. If you want to exceed that, you're gonna have to provide some underground storage that collects in a drain and goes down there, and then is metered back off or something. I mean, you could go a number of directions with that, but that kind of stuff's not unheard of these days. But it would be a bad situation. We will increase, to your point, our stormwater systems all across the city if everybody had concrete everywhere. I mean, it has to run off.
Go somewhere.
I would think that.
I would think we would never go above 50% in the backyard as far as an extra building, pool, any of that. I think you would want, because you do have to have some off-road water to go. Even by the state requirement and stuff like that, you have to contain your own water. 50% of a backyard, that's a lot, to tell you the truth, that's covered.
But to Shelley's point, if you're bringing in the whole aspect of the whole lot, and we're only dealing with the rear yard, if someone is hardscaping 100% of their side and front, and, you know, I'm going to an extreme just to make a point, but it's worth considering whether it makes sense to consider everything as a whole.
The whole lot.
Yeah, just because I've known people on my street who have just paved over grass to have extra parking for 7 cars, you know?
It's because they can't park on the street.
It's not bad, it's not a bad thought to expand this to just your whole lot.
And you were saying
50%
it's not like they already have this sort of.
Yeah, that's, I mean.
I don't know if you, how do you do that, Jeff?
Right.
With, so, part of the building of the new subdivision, there's buildable zones for each of the lot. This is what you can build in. Are you saying, okay, everything outside of that you put a percentage on it.
Well, you have just your buildable lot, you have your lot, and then you have a buildable area, period, like 40% of your lot can be built. Or 60 or 70.
Well, I'll just say the hardest part about that, I mean, once again, I move up to the sensitive lands up here. They have an envelope on their property where they can build their house. Okay, that's a certain percentage. They have a backyard, they have that. Well, I will tell you, their houses are taking that whole envelope.
Yeah.
Because it's just the size of the envelope. It's not like you have a lot of extra. If you just said, okay, that's the envelope and it can only be this much, what about the rest of their backyard where they want to put a pool, where they want to put a shed? All that just becomes an access where you can't do it if you say there's
I
no
think the
percentage.
easiest way, the easiest math today is to say a 10,000 square foot lot, your home's a 5,000 footprint, you've got 5,000 left over, only 2,500 square feet of that can be sheds and pools, and the rest of it's gotta be some kind of landscape, some permeable landscape. I mean, that's the easiest.
I think that's why you control it into the backyard. I mean, we usually don't have people, honestly, putting pickleballs in their front yard.
No, or sheds.
Or sheds, or those kind of, I mean.
I have some evidence to do this.
I'm carving things out here,
It's gonna include.
Because most of the time, those are put in a side yard or backyard.
I think it's hard, like, if someone wants to put an RV pad on the side of their house.
That could take it up.
And I mean, I don't know who made the comment, but my guess is that you'd be pretty hard pressed to find somebody that's over 50% hardscape on any lot. I mean, that's a lot of hardscape, a lot.
But you know, putting the line in the sand just because people get crazy ideas, right? You know, and like I said, I've seen a lot of people who paved a lot of front yard.
We owned a home not in Utah, but the backyard was 95% hardscape.
Really,
I had a planter area on the back wall and one right outside the back door, and that was it. Honestly, it was great. We loved it at the time. Right? Not here in Utah, not here in Utah, yeah, but
Would you have said on that particular lot, what about the whole lot? What percentage of the whole lot was hardscape?
90.
So most of it.
Most of it. Our front yard grass was tiny. It's a corner from that deck, like it was tiny. But we didn't have an issue because the water could run through. It was hardscaped, it was pavers, but the water could run through the pavers.
oh yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's permeability.
They're
That's permeable.
Yeah, it was permeable, it was hardscape,
Yes,
it was pavers, but we didn't have an
rocks
issue.
are permeable.
And that's the thing, I think it's unlikely that you're gonna get a situation where people are like truly just like,
cementing their
Yeah,
entire
right.
yard.
but
There's
if we're addressing it, we might as well, you know, consider the whole package rather than just.
You say 50%.
At the rear yard, I
At
think
the rear yard.
there's a benefit there. You say the rear yard.
I'm saying, kind of go to Shelley's idea, what Salt Lake does is, they consider the whole lot, the front yard, side yard, backyard, and I guess technically the envelope too is, as a percentage of the entire purchased lot, how much of it can you render non-permeable?
I just don't think that's.
What if we did that minus the home?
So it's essentially front yard, side yard, backyard, and we're not considering, that makes sense to me.
If we didn't include the home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You would say 50% of the remaining land.
Subtract all that.
Yeah.
Whatever's left over.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to limit someone's home size, that's what it's.
Yeah, so then you bring that out of the equation, you just say front, side, back.
Yeah,
Yard.
Take the footprint of the home out of the equation.
Yeah.
yeah, as long as the house is taken out of that.
Because especially where we're doing a lot of these postage stamp lots, you can hit 50% really quickly on those. And if-
You put a shed in the backyard right over here, you get 50% if you have a side parking.
and if you get multiple neighbors and you're on a slope, you start having a lot of runoff that's going places it shouldn't have gone.
And on new builds, we could ask for that on a building permit to say, give us the percent of your footprint of your home. Give us the square
I mean, Batesville, the ones up in Rockwell, the states have that, right? They have to have approved architecture.
Well, they have additional layers of the slabs.
Yes, like they're out in, I mean, not sorry, I'll take care of it.
If we drove around the city, I'd be shocked if we found somebody that was exceeding 50%.
Alright.
I think
Sounds
that's
accepted. Scavenger
We
hunt.
can do a mixed use.
You're not getting calls, you're.
The house on Green Road.
One or two out there, I don't know.
No, I think
There's a house over by Justin, I think would be very close.
Well, and I think some of these smaller
It's
lots.
being built right now.
No, you're fine, that's fine. I think
It's
Clark,
charging for people?
I think Clark's got it.
More than 50%, but
Yeah,
it's the whole house. I mean, it's an acre lot and the house takes
75%.
98% of the acreage.
I think Clark got a comment.
Yeah, really important, right?
What's the percentage of your hardscape now?
Oh, it's, well, I got a lot of garment back, but we use all our space.
If neighbors don't count, well, I have all the hills that I can touch, so I got a lot of them.
And that's the thing, is that, and that speaks to what Darren was saying, is that all that hillside is considered permanent.
I remember what I was going to comment on. So if somebody has this great idea, they're going to put a big cement pad in their backyard. I mean, how does the city monitor it?
I don't know. That's a whole other, I don't know.
Kevin,
I mean, I like,
We'll get it.
as a city aspect, is we just, right now, we use the backyard, because that's where your sheds are going, and that's what this was relating to, is auxiliary buildings, pools, sports courts. We use the backyard / maybe the side, no more than 50%, and go that way. I don't know you're gonna have the issues as much in the front yard.
I think so, though, because a lot of people want to put an RV pad, they extend it into their, it goes from the front to the side yard, and they may put their shed there too. So I do think more and more, I see more people trying to utilize front and side yards than maybe they used to think to do. I don't know.
But if every single home had an RV pad on the side of their house, they should have a subsequent opposite side of the house that doesn't have anything. So
Not necessarily,
they're
it
probably
depends on
not
the-
exceeding that 50%, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing, I'm doubtful that we would find many, but the more we have smaller sized lots, this becomes.
I agree.
Yeah.
It becomes a bigger issue with smaller lots, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just gonna be the trend. We've talked a lot about this, that we're almost fully developed, we're gonna get to a redevelopment phase. And that, you're gonna see people subdividing lots. I mean, the old lapidary, I think I've heard that the owner is discussing, subdividing that lot, to a couple of duplex type uses. And I think you're gonna see more of that, and then you're gonna have smaller lots. And if you can get 50% real quick on some of those.
We could do nothing where we have no, I mean.
there's nothing in your.
It's 25%.
25% of the rear setback. Remember, again, this whole thing came up because two people don't get along. We could just say,
They're
well,
looking
doing
to
anything,
check
and we'd be no
out.
worse off than we were before we started talking about this. I don't think we've ever enforced this anywhere. And I promise you, there's plenty of people that have violated that ordinance right there.
The
Yeah.
25%.
25% of their rear yard space, that's where everybody sticks all their sheds, is right with that.
And they're pools.
I thought you said all of it. I see here.
We can fix that in a minute.
I did not say that.
Yeah, they're so excited. Yeah.
But I do think considering that is forward thinking for the next stages of development. I don't know that it is a pressing or burning matter, but I would be in favor of considering that.
Would anybody be opposed if we just change it to 50%? of the yard, rear, front, side, being permeable surfaces
Outside of the building footprint.
outside of the building footprint.
Yeah, I like
And,
that.
and with that, I'll just note that there is permeable concrete that you can purchase. Well, you can do permeable concrete. They make it. Like you can
You
pour.
should look at the videos, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
So like, there's ways, right? If you still want,
There's permeable concrete.
yeah. So if you still want a big old RV pad in the back, you could theoretically have it. But I wouldn't. I guess my point is I wouldn't be opposed. I think I don't see a downside to 50% subtracting the home, and I would say I would also subtract if there is a detached garage as well. I would consider that part of the home, or an attached. I would because if sometimes they're detached, but they're
Yeah,
But they don't-
You say a detached garage should be considered part of the home?
if there's not an attached garage.
Like if there's no, the
So
side.
that's right there, you consider that as an auxiliary building,
Yeah.
so that falls into that already 50% of park space,
Yeah.
right there, by its footprint.
But I guess I'm saying the opposite, that I wouldn't include it.
So you would not,
If it's not like you said, if you don't have already the attached and then they just throw on another one, because there are plenty of homes in my neighborhood that just by the design,
Yeah.
they didn't have a garage, they had an attached garage.
So you're saying that if it, yes. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't really worry about
I like that proposal.
You want me to try and wrap that up and bring it back?
Are we trying to do one, like, public hearing for all of these things, or just all
so we're trying to do them all at the same time.
of them?
So we
Oh,
can
people.
get all the motions.
Oh, yeah, because it's where.
Now, these ones, I will be shocked if any of these bring a lot of people, but I will be shocked before.
So you're good for a public hearing for the light and noise, the fence and the rear yard.
I think, yeah, with the things that we've discussed and the proposed changes, and we can email back and forth offline in the next month to make sure we get it squared away, but I
About
think.
20%, or 20.
The public hearing.
Now, I will say, the 28th, a lot of people are busy that last week. Do we want to try to change it? If we're doing a public hearing, we want to make it available for people.
Why the last week of October?
Everyone's doing all their like trunk or treat
Halloween.
things that last week. I always kind of hear from my trunk or treat, which I'm okay with. And, it would just, is that a concern if we want to make sure it's accessible to folks in the city coming in? Because a lot of people are just tied up that last week.
No, next month.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought that
Well,
was-
November, we typically do like mid-month November, don't we?
Could you just move it a week?
So this year, it's the election,
Oh.
the first Tuesday, the second Tuesday is Veterans Day. So then it leaves the 18th that we have to have a council meeting for canvassing, so it would be the 25th. And then the 27th.
So I'm gonna be gone that 25th for sure.
Yeah.
I doubt we'll have a quorum, just knowing.
I can't do that either. I can just do it in October and.
Yeah.
Could you just move it up?
No, I come every, like, sometimes I come in costume.
But I don't
Just-
have.
This year, I wanna see it.
The Halloween's on a Friday.
Do we do the 21st? Do we just move it up a week or no?
I don't know if you guys are tied up. I'm fine on the 28th. I'm just saying if it creates an issue of trying to do a public hearing. Yeah. Let's just keep it.
Push.
As
Just push them.
But I feel like if you came in your costume, it'd make the meeting better.
I grew this year, so it's not too hard. I'm already bald, so yeah, it's gonna be
You come in
fine.
your costume from the trunk or treat.
I will. Okay, I'll do it. Commitment made.
We could do it on Wednesday.
I think I don't know that.
I'm out of town, but
I'm fine on the 28th. I just wondered if it creates if we're doing the public hearing is public hearing. People want to be here. They gotta be here. That's their choice. So okay. So I think that's it. Except chicken ordinance now. Let's wrap it up with that. That one was real straightforward.
yes.
I'm all
I'm in. I'm good with the verbiage presented.
in. Well done and a good catch. Thanks for catching that card.
right? It's just the two that into.
The dead zones.
Between 12,000 and 20,000 if you're in the RS.
Yeah.
Point. Or our,
And I think we won't get pain points on that one from the citizens, so we're good to go. Okay, I think then I'm ready to entertain a closing motion.
Do you have any staff reports? I don't know, probably not, but.
Wait, what's that, sorry? Oh, do we have any other sort of staff report, any other issues you guys want to bring up before we wrap?
What do you think we?
No, it's gonna be a minute.
No, not at this time.
Okay.
We met with Barkers about doing phase two, actually it was with Boyer, about doing phase two of their project, but they're starting into some design and stuff, but that'll be coming along, but it'll still be a bit.
Okay. I will table that. Alrighty, I will entertain a motion to close our meeting. Second? Alrighty, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Productive meeting, that's great.
Okay, I should,